Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast and game. Oh, why does that always happen? Game 3 in a series between Kaz and LiquidZenio here on Metalopolis. Now, interesting choice of the map. If I am casting these games in order, I do believe I am. If Kaz actually lost, Kaz had lost game 2 and he chose Metalopolis. Now, Metalopolis, one of those maps which normally favor Zerg, according to all the statistics and numbers. That was one of the reasons why Battle.net or Blizzard decided to remove it from the Battle.net ladder games. But it is still very, very popular in tournament play. We'll see whether or not it holds true where Zerg does have a slight edge on this map, as we see Kaz spawning as the blue Terran player on the south side of the map at the 6 o'clock position. Meanwhile, LiquidZenio spawning on the north side of the map as the red Zerg here at the 12 o'clock position. Now, once again, we need to keep track of what these players will go for, what their strategies will be, and what their opening moves are. Just like in chess, your opening moves really define how the game is going to be played, at least for the first 15 or 20 moves in chess. And we'll see how these players respond here. You can see that a front door is being established by Kaz, a standard opening. I get a lot of flack for commenting on the front door and whether or not Terran players should or should not build a barracks on the front door. And it's one of those situations where it makes you look like a fool. It makes you look a little bit like you're trying to be defensive early on. And if the person doesn't try to do any sort of crazy rush against you, then you look like a fool. But then again, if the person does do a proxy rush for you or a very early 7 pool or something like that, then you look like a fool for losing to a 7 pool rush. So I err on the side of caution, making sure that I have enough units and want to be able to defend off the attack, as we now see an SCV move out. And this looks like Kaz is going to be opening up with a very similar build as he did in Game 1 and Game 2. Now, will we see any variation? It looks like Zenio has opted to get that extractor and the spawning pool as well. A little bit different than Game 2. I believe a same or similar build as... Actually, is it different than Game 2 or different than Game 1? Well, anyways, he did go for a hatchery first. So he is going to have queens. He is going to be able to get some early Zerglings as the SCV is now starting to scout. Very, very interesting to know that the SCV didn't even really go up the ramp. Just wanted to see if there was a hatchery there. Sees the hatchery at the natural expansion. And now simply going to move around on his own. No bunkers are going to be established. We should see a reactor coming down. And I think Zenio knows what is coming, and pretty much Kaz knows what is coming, or what he's going to be doing as well. You're going to get the spine crawler over here, perhaps here or here, perhaps even an evolution chamber or some bit of SimCity to make sure that the Hellions cannot run up. Now, what Kaz is looking for is Kaz is looking to harass with Hellions and deal damage, or perhaps at least force Zenio. At least force Zenio to train up some Zerglings and not be able to drone as much. One of the things to keep in mind that is very, very important is that every pair of Zerglings that are trained in the early game is a drone not created. And that's really what you're trying to do. You're trying to minimize any drones. You're trying to minimize what your opponent can do to you. Also, a spine crawler is a drone destroyed as well. So we'll see what's going to be happening here, as we can see a Zergling now making its way out. It is going to go up against a Hellion, but the Marine's going to be able to help that out there, as now more Hellions are still going to be added. Now, Kaz looking for perhaps a couple Zerglings. The Marines now simply on patrol. He knows that an Overlord is perhaps over here, and he wants to try to shoot it down, but the Overlord is not going to be making its way in, as we now see a third command center coming in from Kaz. Now, this has become a very common strategy, especially against Zerg, where if a Terran player can train up a lot of Hellions and then use those Hellions, put pressure, force the training of more Zerglings, that additional command center, especially with the orbital command, is enough to fight, is enough to catch up or perhaps even surpass your opponent in terms of harvester count. Hellions are still being added here. And now we are going into a tech lab as well, as the Hellions are now making their way off to the north. Currently, 2 creep tumors are down. They are going to try to creep out, but no. Oh, a nice destruction there. Zenio unable to cancel it in time. There are 3 spine crawlers, though, as the Hellions now just dealing free damage to a spine crawler. Spine crawler going to decide to back off here and rebuild. So a loss of some resources there, not much, but at this stage in the game, both sides really trying to minimize those losses. Evolution chamber and a baneling's nest being added. Not quite sure why the evolution chamber wasn't being built here. Perhaps it doesn't want to absorb too much damage, as the Hellions are now going to simply charge in, but with 2 spine crawlers dealing 20 damage per attack, that may simply be too much, especially with that additional +2 armor. Even Marines have a difficult time, as the Hellions are now running around the backside. Drones do get torched. One Hellion could get taken down. The Zerglings are now going to perhaps try to sit there. The Hellion needs to be careful. Not quite sure what that was about, as 2 Hellions are now down. The drones are now coming in, and the Hellions just trying to see where they can go, as we see another inject hit. The Hellions going to take down some of those Zerglings. 1 Zergling down. Another Zergling perhaps going to get taken down here. A line. There you go. Line them up. Taking down multiple Zerglings. Total losses slightly higher for the Zerg. Only 2 Hellions lost for the Terran now, as the Hellions are now simply going to retreat, now that we know that there is an orbital command already operational, and now going into a starport. Perhaps going to add on a reactor here, and building a reactor should definitely help with that medevac play. We're going to see the Hellions are perhaps going to try to get some easy damage onto that 1 spine crawler. There are some banelings, though. The banelings are on creep. 1 Hellion in a very bad position. It could detonate. This is going to look very, very bad here, as the Zerglings chasing after those units. 2 Hellions left, and I believe the losses are now actually higher for, yes, Terran. Terran losing 2 more Hellions, and now it is 400-300. The Harvester count, 44 versus 52, but 3 mules are in play, or 4 mules are in play, mining away. 3 or 4 at the natural expansion here, as the orbital command not training up SCVs. A little curious as to why you would possibly build the additional orbital command and not really train up additional SCVs. He is currently supply blocked, now trying to get up more units perhaps, as Kaz is sitting at 81, 82 over 89 compared to 74 over 100. The Overseer is flying around. The Overseer will spot everything here. A medevac, a changeling now being added. Marines making their way down, and now perhaps going to try to shoot down this Overseer. The Overseer does spot this, and now quickly taking down the changeling as well, as the Overseer needs to run away from that Marine. Marines going after it. The Overseer down to 89 hit points. It looks like it will fall, as we now see a large group of units from Kaz perhaps trying to disrupt this 3rd base. Triple creep tumors are being laid down. Hellion's going to go after these units here. The Zerglings, however, going to come back around, and the Zerglings with engaging against the Marines. The Marines need to split here. They need to be very careful. The Marines are splitting, taking on a couple of those banelings as well, as now the spine crawler is off over here. The Zerglings, however, now in a line. This is going to be bad. There goes one group of banelings detonating all over the place. A queen may get taken down, and now the Marines going to go straight after the drones. Drones now falling, as this attack force will be repelled. And now only 2 Zerglings left from that engagement. Harvester count 58 to 55. The orbital command now calling in mules here at the high ground, and Kaz keeping even on bases, going to put Zenio in a bit of trouble. We can see that Mutalists are being added, and this is customary at that 12-minute mark to start getting those missile turrets up, as Mutalists could be coming out. You can see that the Marines are upgraded 1-0. No armor upgrades yet, as we do have a 2nd engineering bay. 2 engineering bays, most likely going to double upgrade those Marines. I cannot imagine them getting auto-sec tracking or Terran building armor. As we see Kaz just going for a push. The Mutalisk may perhaps deal some damage towards the siege tank here. 1 Zergling was destroyed, and we'll see where these siege tanks go. There is a spine crawler on the ramp. The Mutalisk going to look, perhaps try to find where all of these units are. And I like this play by Kaz. Kaz forced an attack and then decided to pull back, and all Zenio could do was train units. He needed to train more units, and then that means that he did not train drones. So we're at 66 drones now to 69, 70 SCVs, as we see more Mutalisks and now a lot more Zerglings on the field. The units are currently looking for where those Marines could possibly be, and Kaz instead retreated back home to regroup and now bring in more siege tanks and more marines. 2-1 upgrades and now being researched. A poor Zergling unable to even make it halfway up the ramp, as we now see a new hatchery being established. The Mutalists look to deal some harassment damage. There are missile turrets sporadically placed out, as there may be a flank here. One Marine getting taken. Oh no, finally gets taken out there, as the Marines are engaging, but the sheer number of Mutalists simply too many, as the Marines were split from the rest of the group. Not quite sure what that was about, as we now see Zerglings making their way down. Zenio with a very large group of units. Looks like he will be able to push back this attack force. An elevator up onto the high ground instead, and the siege tanks are going to siege here, and this is going to be interesting, but the Mutalists are going to be over here from the back. One siege tank blasting away. The Marines are up on the high ground. The siege tanks destroying those Zerglings and destroying them still. The Mutalists now looking to do some harassment damage. A second bunker now being established. Supply depots completely protecting this over here, as we now see the Mutalists simply trying to fly inside the base. The Mutalists taking some damage here, as the missile turrets are around the base, but there's only one missile turret. It will quickly fall, as the Mutalists are now inside the main base here. Marines are trying to fight back. Oh, a Thor arrives just in time as Zerglings attempt to take down this bunker. That bunker is in such a well-placed position, taking down multiple units here. Kaz now getting up even more units. Harvester count 78 to 82 even on bases, but a gold is being established. Siege tanks are in position here, preventing any building of this hatchery. We'll see what's going to happen, as that hatchery is going to get destroyed and canceled the instant it is ready. Zerglings and Banelings, if Kaz actually lands this command center, it may be instantaneously destroyed with the help of those Banelings. Kaz now landing. Zerglings now coming over. Banelings now almost detonated on the building there, as we see Kaz in a very nice position, knowing that the siege tanks would cover the ramp. The Zerglings would not be able to run up there at all, and now more units are getting destroyed still. Marines now making their way down. Now on the ramp, that's a little bit of a bad position. They're taking some splash damage. Marines, only 8 of them against the sheer number of Mutalists. What's going to be happening? The Banelings, however, getting detonated, and now Kaz's very forward attack is in trouble, most likely because the siege tanks splashed on their own units. Medevacs now attempting to retreat. The siege tanks know that they have really no chance whatsoever. Medevacs finishing off those, or getting finished off here, as now we see 2 Medevacs regrouping with the rest of the army. Siege tanks getting destroyed. Planetary Fortress about to be completed. It still needs about another 8 seconds. SCVs trying to repair, but unable to get any real surface area on this. The command center, is it? Yes, a Planetary Fortress, but it does get destroyed. SCVs the sleeping at the wheel, unable to repair that in time, and now Zenio inside the base taking out reactors, taking down tech labs, making it very difficult for the Terran to really produce any additional units. Marines trying to fight back, but the sheer number of Mutalists in the air, too much, as Zenio is going to clean up until a large attack force does come in to try to save it. Kaz going to cancel this command center over here as Zerglings once again arrive. Mutalisk still causing nightmares inside the base. Kaz not even bothering to repair, finally bringing over SCVs to repair here, but that Glaive Worm chain damage is going to cause some problems. One Marine trying to fight back, more Marines joining in on the fight, and the Marines, because those Mutalisks were taking down the orbital command, did some damage. Meanwhile, over here on the north side, we see Marines and even a Thor joining in. A large number of siege tanks, 9, now able to destroy more units, as the Zerglings, Banelings, and Mutalisks need to be careful. New hatchery being built here on the high ground. Mutalisks are going to go after this siege tank. One siege tank may get taken out. There it goes, but the rest of the siege tanks are protected now by Marines. In comes a Thor as well. The Thor, however, going to slowly take down this Overlord. No, getting a round of shots. Nope, unable to fire that either. Marines now slowly doing this push, but he's going to be fighting on creep. Here comes the Zerglings from all sides. Banelings just splashing themselves up against siege tanks. Not a good trade, but some Banelings do find their targets. Mutalisk now just completely swarming here. Kaz does have a decent number of Marines still, as Zenio's Mutalisks were low on hit points and didn't want to engage. Kaz being careful now, going to go back up onto this high ground. The Marines are going to try to snipe down this hatchery. It looks like it may fall. The Zerglings are going to go after it. It looks like the Banelings need to finish it off. Is it going to happen? Yes, the hatchery does fall, as the Marines are exchanged here, but Kaz doesn't have the units to really give up you can see that the medevacs are simply all falling once more as missile turrets are being built. And you see now the gold in the center for Zenio really giving him a strong economic advantage. Ghost now finally being added. Mutalisk making their way over. Planetary Fortress not yet being upgraded. That's going to be a problem as Zerglings are once again going to arrive to the party. Take down. There are a lot of SCVs. These SCVs need to run away. The command center, even if it is lifted off, may fall to those Mutalisks. No, one missile turret acting back as we now see a large group of Marines. The Marines are, oh, nice splash there. The siege tanks getting in multiple kills on Banelings. And that may have turned the tide. Losing that many Banelings without dealing any damage whatsoever. The command center now needs to be upgraded to a planetary fortress. You can now see the planetary fortress being established off over here. Missile turrets being added. As we see Marines perhaps going to try to park themselves at the Xel'Naga Tower. The Marines are upgraded 2-1, soon to be, no, not very soon, but will be 2-2 eventually. Siege tanks are in position to defend against many of those Zerglings as infestors are now coming out. A couple of fungal growths. We'll see where that is going to lead to as an Overlord now making its way into the firing range of a couple missile turrets, and it quickly falls. Now, Kaz is going to perhaps utilize what most Terran players love about this map. The Xel'Naga Tower here in the center, being able to control, take down the hatchery, and destroy a whole bunch of drones all at the same time. A new planet or new command center now being established off over here as the Zerg is now trying to swarm with Thor in position. The planetary fortress is upgraded on the other side as well. No armor upgrades though, but the planetary fortress should be able to finish that off. Zerglings now making their way into the 3 o'clock starting location. It will force a cancellation on the command center as the Marines will capture the gold. It is once again going to be even on bases, but Terran will be holding a gold mineral patch. Meanwhile, the Zerg will be holding no gold mineral patches, so it's going to be essentially 3 bases of mining versus what will be 3 bases of mining, as these mineral patches should be dwindling in just a moment. Now, almost every mineral patch, save for 2, has been mined from or will be mined from, as Marines now look to do a drop here, but this is going to be very, very deadly. What's going to happen? The Ghost, oh, the Ghost absorbed a lot of those Banelings. Perhaps an exchange there, but now all of those units have been destroyed once again. Siege tanks now looking to siege from the low ground, perhaps firing back, and the infestors will have to be very, very careful. You can see that there are creep tumors here. Those should get taken down, but the creep does take time to recede. As we now see infestors in position here, they're going to take more damage. Ghost now coming in. Elevator drop. The one Ghost being able to fight back against the swarm, and another Baneling attack there. So the Ghosts were destroyed here as the infestors, and now EMP coming in. And this is no good. A quick fungal growth. Marines may get taken down, but there is one Broodlord cocoon here. Ghost now trying to fight back. The Ghosts do have snipe. Will they be able to finish this off as the hatchery does fall? Massive snipes now going up against the Mutalisk as the Mutalisk fall once more. There are a lot of infestors and a group of Marines waiting to be fungal growth. There it is. There's a double fungal growth to ensure that all those Marines... Oh, one more fungal growth should do it. Where is it? Where is it? There is the fungal growth to actually finish off all those units. Banelings now coming in. Oh, a Baneling detonating against an SCV. Getting overexcited as the Marines now pushing in once more. Infestors not burrowing. No research into burrow at all. So Zenio unable to save those very expensive units. Meanwhile, siege tanks now getting cleaned up in the center. Kaz still has a much larger army. 181 over compared to 110. A massive Ghost army now looking to perhaps get some more snipe damage. Are we going to get some more fungal growths? Yes, the Ghosts are getting destroyed. Some fungal growths on now the medevacs, and these medevacs all going to be destroyed as well. So Kaz may end up losing some critical, expensive units. But what is this? 12 Ghosts now in the center. 6 Ghosts being trained at a time. We are up to 18 Ghosts with Reapers. So a crazy number of Ghosts now, and mass Ghosts with energy. And no cloaking, strangely enough. So no cloaking at all. These Ghosts will be upgraded 3-3. Gonna go up against these Broodlords. These Broodlords are not gonna know what even hits them. Vikings and mass Ghosts here on Metalopolis. Orbital command has been built off over here, is trying to establish another base in the center. However, the Broodlords are going to simply fall. There is a fungal growth across the center. All those ghosts are going to have a very bad day. Not enough energy on the medevac, but the Broodlords having an even worse day, as there is the GG coming in from Zenio. So Zenio losing game 3 in this series. I still got more games, folks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll post up the other games when I have time to cast them. The first 2 games were rather long. Also, I'm gonna... yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it.